right, let's kick it off here on a Tuesday. Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Glad you're with us here on this beautiful day here in Central Alabama. Not sure what it's like out in, I'm going to go with San Marcos,
Texas.
San Marcos, Texas, yes.
I'm not sure what it's like outside either. You get up, put a ball cap on, brush your teeth, and haven't even looked out the window yet. But it should be nice. It was like 77 degrees here yesterday. Starting to get to that time of the year. Winter is almost done. The college basketball season, regular season, is almost done. We'll hold off on the big news from here in the state of Texas. We're going to hold off on that until probably about a half hour from now. There were reverberations going through Waco, Texas, and Houston, Texas yesterday because of the result of a basketball game. We'll talk about a little bit later on. It was big out here. So,
yeah. Well, I bet.
Started out good.
Yeah,
started out real good, but
yep,
we'll get to that a little bit later on. Speaking of San Marcos,
yes,
and speaking of dogs and things of that nature, I see where Troy is a favorite tonight on the road, a 2.5-point favorite. As they play on the road tonight. Well, could that be of interest to the daily dog selection? Who knows?
I didn't realize that. Of course, Troy has 2 more games remaining in the regular season. Both are on the road. Both are this week, which is why I'm on the road. Texas State tonight at 7 o'clock. I've got the radio broadcast. It's going to be on ESPN+. Troy's got a better record, better conference record. They lost to Texas State at the very last minute down in Troy. I was at practice. We practiced yesterday. We do this a lot where, you're on a long road trip. You find a place to practice that's away from the actual arena. We have practiced at West Virginia Tech. We've practiced at Spring Hill College down in Mobile. Yesterday we practiced at San Marcos High School. And I got to tell you, I haven't been to a high school in a while. I used to, do a lot of high school sports. Yeah. I know this week is the AHSAA Boys and Girls Championships up in Birmingham. I've been to Charles Henderson High School a bunch. It's right across the street from the Troy campus. But we're in there. It's a nice school. And we're in there practicing, and the bell rings, right? Oh. And, which you and I have both heard 100,000 times in our lives. Bell rings, and I'm out there. I'm actually had found a place to use the restroom, and it wasn't anywhere near where we were. So I feel ill at ease because I'm walking through the halls of San Marcos High School looking for a bathroom, and here comes the bell, and I'm like, oh snap, here we go. And these freshmen and sophomores are out there milling around. It's different than freshmen and sophomores back when I was a freshman and a sophomore, John. When you carried your books, now they carry backpacks and they're very little books. Everybody's got a laptop and all that, and they're looking up at me, and I'm thinking, I'm about to get turned into the office. They're going to send cops out here because I don't have any sort of a hall pass. And I was always a hall pass guy. John probably never was. You know, hall pass.
No.
But I made it out okay.
The bell was ringing. I was running into the class as it was ringing to avoid the tardy slip. Got a lot of tardy slips.
Everybody else.
That kids don't use lockers. Their locker is their backpack. They put everything they own in that backpack so they don't have to go to the locker, which my day, locker time was great. I mean, if you had a locker next to a hottie, you could make a little time in between classes. Good way to ask her out. I mean, if you don't have any locker time, man, that cuts down your chances.
I remember this girl I knew, she had her locker, and I mean, she spent a lot of time on it. It had shelves in it, a mirror in there so she could brush her hair and everything. Now the backpacks look like they could, they're on a moonwalk or something like that.
Yeah, I bet that was
okay kind of and everything. They're all looking at me like, ooh.
What was that school you said? West Virginia Tech.
It brought back the old days.
West Virginia Tech. I wrote that one down. I've never heard of West Tech.
Well, until we pulled up to the campus, I had never heard of it either. It's in Beckley, West Virginia. Beckley, West Virginia. Well, there's not much to hear about Beckley, West Virginia. So we're there, West Virginia Tech. I actually had to do some work, for the university. I do some work for the university stuff. We had to have a Zoom meeting, and I'm in the locker room of the basketball gymnasium at West Virginia Tech. And I think that, the internet's good in there in the locker room. It's quiet because nobody's in there except our team practicing outside. We needed to have this Zoom call because, our team practice was noisy and everything. This was great. So we get about 10 minutes into, here comes one of our starting players, and he has to go to the bathroom, which is like 3 feet away from me. And I thought, I probably should have thought this through. Everybody on the other side of the Zoom call was like, what's that sound? And nothing. Never mind.
Yeah.
No.
Hey, I'm not so much worried about the sound, it's the smell. I mean, cut me a break here.
Well,
how about that?
Yeah, but they ain't got to deal with it, but I do. Anyway, we are underway. There is basketball. The Trojans play at Texas State tonight and close out the regular year on Friday against Southern Miss. Big basketball all over the place in the SEC as we get down to brass tacks.
Yeah. I was looking at it, Barry. There are 4 SEC games tonight. 3 of them tip at 8 o'clock. Only one 6 o'clock game tonight. That's Florida at Georgia on the SEC network.
Yeah.
And then you got 3 at 8 o'clock. I don't know, because maybe they're a little further west. I don't know. Tennessee at LSU at 8, Mississippi State at Alabama at 8, and South Carolina at Missouri at 8.
That Tennessee LSU game is the second half of the SEC Network doubleheader. John mentioned Florida, Georgia. Alabama's on ESPN2 at 8 o'clock in Tuscaloosa.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I mean, it's the number 6 team in the country. Shouldn't they get a little bit more love than putting them on the late ESPN2? What's the game on the Deuce? And South Carolina at Missouri is on ESPNU tonight.
I don't even know if I still have that. Do I still have ESPNU? I got to look at that. That's a good question. ESPN2 early game, Baylor at Cincinnati at 6 o'clock. I don't know if those teams score a lot of points or prone to call a lot of timeouts in the last 4 minutes of a game. But if they do, Bama fan, that game might not tip till, I don't know, 8:15, 8:20.
Yeah.
As you have to get that game wrapped up early. Out in Waco. Barry mentioned Waco. No, it's at Cincinnati. The game is in Cincinnati. Yeah.
And I was wrong yesterday earlier. The game yesterday, Houston versus Texas Tech, which is in Lubbock, which is no place to be. We'll get to that one just a little bit later on. For Alabama, still jockeying for position in the SEC. They're now on a tie with Florida in second place, 2 games behind Auburn, who doesn't play until tomorrow. Auburn has a big one coming up tomorrow at home against Ole Miss, which probably, out of the 4 games left, is the game that Auburn will have the best odds to win out of the rest of them. But Phillips says, does that mean that Ole Miss can't win the game? No, it does not. Yeah.
See,
instead
folks,
of saying Ole Miss can win the game, Phillips says, can Ole Miss win the game?
Yeah, that's there again. You don't get that anywhere else. Can they? Well, I don't know. Let's think about it a little bit. I mean, maybe they can. Who knows? I thought it was interesting, Barry Phillips' breakdown of who will be a number 1 seed, and he's convinced not only Auburn's going to be a number 1 seed, but so is Alabama. He thinks the Crimson Tide will be a number 1 seed. Virtually wrapped up number 1 seeds. The rest of the regular season, SEC tournament, doesn't matter, because the number of quad 1 wins and the records that the 2 teams have Phillip convinced that the Tigers and the Tide will be number 1 seeds in the NCAA tournament. I did not know this, though, Barry. That's why you got to read. When it comes to comparing quad 1 wins with teams like Duke and Florida, those 2 teams don't even come close to the Tide and the Tigers.
No. the quad one, we went through it, and Kirk said I didn't do it right, but the quad one wins are basically the big wins. I tried to explain it out that it was, basically the power of five, and it's not technically the power of five. Those are the ones, with the best net ratings or whatever. The right now, Alabama is 9-5 in quad one wins. Tennessee's 9-5. Florida hasn't played many, just 5-3. Auburn in quad one is 14-2. This may be the best net ranking, the strongest net ranking that Auburn has ever had. They have been terrific. But again, Alabama tied for second with Florida, who's won 6 games in a row and getting stronger. Tennessee, number 4, not too far behind. Alabama's net ranking is 6. Florida's net ranking is 4. Auburn's net ranking is 1. Tennessee's net ranking is 5. So without, if you take it just from that, if Alabama is one of the top 4 seeds, they've got the number 4. They've got the number 4 net in the SEC, much less the number 4 net in the entire country. So I don't see it right now. The numbers don't dictate that, but we'll see.
Yeah, Phillips big into quad one wins. Now, this is what I really love, though, Barry. This is what catches my attention. National media's love for Duke is strong.
I knew you'd say that because, goodness, Phillips got an axe to grind against somebody at all time. Used to be Texas A&M. Once and always, it's Alabama, but now. Well, he thinks it's unfair towards Duke.
Yeah, and I was about to say, I believe I've read accounts in football of a team that seems to get a lot of love from ESPN and the benefit of the doubt and a lot of TV time and a lot of mention. And it flips on Sports Center and Scott Van Pelt. I mean, I basically can reel it off from memory, but now he's on Duke. Duke is the media darling, and the way I read it, somebody else isn't getting the attention that Duke's getting. That's the way I read that.
I quote from Phillips, from Coffee with Phillip, auburnundercover.com. John and I are both subscribers.
Oh, yeah, love it.
And I quote, "It will never change because ESPN is in business to make money."
Yeah.
Who's not? But the love affair with Duke can be a real turnoff. The Blue Devils blew out Illinois, who was without its top 2 players, and you would think that they had knocked off a national championship contender. There's no question Duke gets TV ratings. You will hear and read much more about Cooper Flagg than you hear or read about Janai Broom or any other player. Auburn plays in the best league in the country. Duke plays in the weakest ACC in years, if not ever, end quote. Now,
well, there's 2 words there, Phillip, you need to really pay close attention to. Ratings and money.
Money.
Those are the 2 key words, and Duke gets it, and maybe Auburn doesn't get it as much. I don't know what Auburn's ratings are to this point in the basketball season. I don't know how much money Auburn brings ESPN, but obviously Duke brings a lot. And people gravitate toward them. They want to watch them. They're certainly well-known. People are familiar with Duke, maybe not so much familiar with Auburn basketball. Barry, it takes time, baby steps. You got to work your way up to that level. You just can't pop on the scene one year and then say one year, I don't know, elect not to go to postseason. You can't do that. You got to keep building year after year after year, not one of these just flash in the pan type deals.
I've always had the same piece of advice for anybody who gripes about that. Duke gets all the love. Duke gets all the things. Let me pick one out. Alabama football. Just use them as an example that pops into my mind. There's so much love for them. You know what I say? Ignore them. Don't pay attention. Pay attention to your team. Be grateful for what you get. ESPN talking up Duke. That's fine. Good deal. They did beat Auburn earlier in the year. Philip doesn't mention that, but, try to be a little
remember when
Waylon more well-adjusted, who's which would you rather be, number one in the country or be number one in the hearts of ESPN?
Yeah. Remember Waylon Jennings talking about Lukenbach, Texas, and keeping up with the Joneses, 4-car garage, and we're still hanging on. You got to worry about yourself. Don't worry about what's going on over at the Joneses' house.
You could do worse than to follow the words of Waylon Jennings in just about any walk of life as well.
I don't know where
yourself, would Hank have done it this way?
Sure. And I don't know where Lukenbach, Texas is, but it sounds kind of like a nice place. Who knows?
Well, all I know is in Lukenbach, Texas, ain't nobody feeling no pain.
See? Yeah, they're not looking out what everybody else is doing. They're just living their own lives.
Yeah.
Well, man, we're got the first segment in. We got a lot going on today. Brian Matthews, auburnsports.com at the bottom of this hour. At the top of the next hour, Travis Ryer on YouTube, Talking Tide with Travis. A lot going on today. The Victorland 777 Topic Wheel, the Phantoms Daily Dog. A lot to talk about. A lot of things we want to discuss. One thing when we get back, you had hit me or hit us last week with some news about ESPN and Major League Baseball kind of going their different ways. I know you find it shocking. I do want to talk a little bit more about that when we get back.
Yep.
I'm just still having a hard time accepting that.
It'll be okay, John. ESPN is not the be-all, end-all just because they're not carrying baseball and just because they give Duke all the love.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean anything. Just move on past. Plus, we got a couple of questions on the chat line we'll answer. We got to get busy. John is in network control. I'm in San Marcos, Texas. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Okay, joining us now, Brian Reynolds. He is the director of golf at Cambrian Ridge in Greenville on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail. And, hey, Brian, I know we've had a lot of rain. Weather hadn't been very cooperative, but that still doesn't mean that our listeners and our viewers can come see you to pick up those trail cards and also all of the new merchandise and equipment that's arriving in your pro shop.
That's right, guys. We've got the new TaylorMade Q35. We've got the new TaylorMade Elite, named after the old founder of Callaway, Ely Callaway. We got the TaylorMade, we got the Ping, the Perils rolling in left and right, whether it's Peter Millar, Vineyard Vines, Straight Down, Southern Tide. We've got it all coming in right now. Puma, shop's getting full, running out of room, so we need folks to come buy some stuff. It's getting thick in there.
I love it, Brian. Man, you are just packed in with new merchandise and apparel for the upcoming golf season. And speaking of that upcoming golf season, that trail card will pay for itself in no time. Folks need to go ahead and get that 2025 trail card.
That's right. It pays for itself the first time you use it. It takes your golf, whether you're playing, in Greenville or at Prattville, somewhere around the $46 to $56 price range. If you walk in here without one in our prime season in the spring, we're going to hit you for $125. So, you buy the $50 trail card, pay your $56 for golf. It's still cheaper than walking the door and not having one. So if you're an Alabama resident or live within 2 hours of any trail facility, make sure you get that card, stash it away in your wallet, take a picture of it on your phone so we can give you that discount. And hey, the caveat on top of it is you gain points every time you spend $1 with that trail card, whether it's food and beverage, golf, merchandise. You gain points, and for every 500 points you get a free round of golf. So if you're looking to buy a driver, irons, rangefinder, shoes, buy it with us. You get points and you're going to get a free round of golf. If you buy a driver, you get a free round of golf right then, $500.
Yeah, that is awesome, man. That is fantastic. So for more information, go to rtjgolf.com/Cambrian Ridge. Or better yet, just go by and see them there in Greenville. What's your phone number for more information and to book that tee time when this weather gets a little better?
Just give us a call at 382-97877. I'm sorry, 382-9787, and we'll get you taken care of.
Awesome. Brian, thank you so much, my friend. A lot of exciting things going on down there at Cambrian Ridge. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, all right, we're ready back at it. About 20 minutes past the hour on this Tuesday, Longshore and McKnight. presented by Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy, in association with our good friends at Yellowhammer News. You can check us out at yellowhammernews.com. We're right there right now. You can also check it out in the afternoon. They always have a write-up about today's program with some video content, yellowhammernews.com. Also on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, Spotify. A lot of people taking advantage of all of those options to check us out. We really appreciate that. When you do it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Doesn't cost anything. You just get notifications when something pops out. We certainly have a lot of content throughout the day. So we really appreciate that. Spread the word. Let your friends know.
Several questions here. Already early on, Theota says, are we talking about practice? Ty says, Barry, what are your ties to Port St. Joe, Florida? Wasn't that a Port St. Joe cap you had on yesterday? Yes, it was. It was a Port St. Joe Tiger Sharks baseball cap. My father is from Port St. Joe, Florida. My late father, we moved around a lot when I was growing up, but every summer and a lot of the holidays, we'd go to Port St. Joe. So it was kind of a touchstone for us. And I try to get down there every chance I get. My uncle, my cousins, a lot of family still live down there. It's just about my favorite place on earth. And my cousin Tim gave me his ball cap, and I wear it every once in a while.
What part of the state? What's it near?
Port St. Joe is near Mexico Beach. It's between Mexico Beach and Apalachicola. It's about 40 miles east of Port St. Joe. It's on that little that little bulge at the bottom of the panhandle down there. Also, Ty, the name of our episode today is Lawyers, Guns, and Money, which is a great Warren Zevon tune. You got to check it out.
Not to get confused with Werewolves of London. He also did that as well.
Yeah, I saw a werewolf drinking a pina colada at Trader Vic's. His hair was perfect. Ty says, haven't you guys used that episode title before? Seems like I remember you guys have.
Come on, Ty.
Look at the top of the screen. This is episode number 126.
That's right.
We're bound to run into, sooner or later, some of the extra ones. And there's some popular song titles that are not appropriate to use, like Jimmy Buffett's Why Don't We Get to... Well, there's a lot of them out there. So, eventually we might do it, but I don't remember Lawyers, Guns, and Money.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Our previous 125 episodes.
I don't know if we've used that before. I know we used it as bumper music back in the day. Also, we found out that Lukenbach is 75 miles west of Austin. Thank you. I did not know that.
Not too far from Austin. There we go.
Yep, Lukenbach, Waylon Jennings. All right, so Barry, last week you mentioned
53 miles from where I am right now in
sweet.
Gillespie County, Texas.
Maybe you can take a day trip to Lukenbach just to say you've been there.
That's right.
Last week you mentioned that ESPN cutting ties with Major League Baseball.
Yep.
There was a lot of tears because of that. Not really here, but probably some other places. Do you remember what was the dollar amount that ESPN had been paying
to
broadcast Major League Baseball?
I don't, but I can look it up. MLB and ESPN have opted out of the TV deal for 26, 27, and 28. Major League Baseball, the commissioner, Rob Manfred, said that the ESPN wasn't doing enough to promote baseball outside of just carrying the games. You didn't have, shows that talked a lot of baseball or anything like that. According to ESPN chairman Jimmy Pitaro, who's a lifelong baseball fan, they tell me, the numbers just didn't add up. Major League Baseball was getting $550 million a year in rights fees.
Okay.
And ESPN opted out of the final two. They'll still have it this year, but they've opted out of the final 2 seasons of the contract just because ESPN didn't see $550 million in value.
Yeah.
The Major League ad package. Just to give you an idea, according to some business media sources. The Major League Baseball package last year was ESPN's 10th biggest driver of ad sales revenues.
Well, the reason
trailing NHL, trailing studio shows like Get Up, and First Take.
I mean, if a studio show is outrating a major league sport, it's actually sports that you're actually watching. Well,
watching that's actually taking place with athletes and balls and umpires and stuff.
Maybe there's just not enough stuff taking place. What really blows my mind, Barry, is I've harped on the fact that Major League Baseball did not have one game, including the World Series, that was in the top 100 rated sporting events. I think it was 2 years ago. Haven't seen the last 12 months. So that was probably one thing that had to do with their decision that nobody's watching. I don't know how many NBA games were in the top 100, but the current deal that ESPN has with the NBA, a $24 billion deal, it will expire at the end of this season. Are they getting rid of the NBA? Nope. They signed an 11-year deal worth $76 billion. Now, they're paying how much how much they were paying at Major League Baseball? $500 million?
$550 million.
And the NBA is going to make $76 billion over the next 9 years. What is it about the NBA that is obviously much more popular than Major League Baseball? I don't get it. I mean, all I'm hearing is that the NBA ratings are down. Nobody watches the NBA. $76 billion. Every NBA game will be televised. I mean, not every game. There will be an NBA game on every night of the week.
Yeah. And that's what I think was one of the, it was a mutual thing. ESPN's not real happy with Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball's not real happy with ESPN. Major League Baseball ad revenue, according to this, and it's from Sportico.com, and see if you agree with this. Once hailed as the national pastime, baseball is now very much a local phenomenon, as evidenced from last year's attendance figures. Last year, Major League Baseball attendance was the highest it's been in 7 years. It isn't the end of the world that ESPN is not carrying Major League Baseball. It's healthy. I mean, the fans are still watching it. It just doesn't play as well on TV. Maybe 70% of the time on the TV screen at a baseball game, you've got 4 people in the screen: the pitcher, the catcher, the hitter, and the umpire. And unless somebody puts the ball in play, that's all you're going to see, except for maybe a crowd shot of a kid eating popcorn or something like that. It just doesn't play as well on TV as the NBA does.
Yeah, and I never thought about that. But you're right. I mean, you're looking at 4 players. Unless the ball is in play, you're constantly watching the same thing. And most of that, you're watching the pitcher, step off the rubber or scratch himself, or the batter steps out of the batter's box, or the manager walks up to the mound for a conversation. Those things just drive me insane. I've come up with a way to speed baseball up. They're slowly adapting some of my ideas. I'd rather them go ahead and take them all in at one time instead of implementing them in little short baby steps. Just go ahead and just have this big transition.
Because John knows they're going to do it anyway. Why don't they go ahead and do it now? It's inevitable because it's John's idea.
But Barry, $76 million? 76?
$76 billion for the NBA. Yes.
That is mind-blowing that they're spending that much money on the NBA. And some of these, ESPN and ABC are going to get the bulk of them, but there's some on Peacock and Amazon, and they're going to be on every night of the week, but not every night of the week on ESPN.
Well,
but
speaking of that,
$76 billion? Jeez.
Yeah, that's a lot of money, John.
Kid.
The speaking of Amazon, that, according to industry insiders, is the early bet to take over a lot of the national stuff from ESPN, who has said in the statement, I'm sorry, Major League Baseball has said in the statement that, the over-the-air, the cable distribution is an outmoded model, and they're going to look a little bit more towards streaming, which means Amazon Prime and stuff like that. They're saying cable's passe.
Hold on. I don't want Amazon Prime putting money into Major League Baseball that could affect the production value of all the new James Bond movies they got to be producing.
Yeah, John says if they're making a decision, the Florida Marlins or the James Bond miniseries.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I don't want them wasting money on baseball. Gee.
When we come back, Brian Matthews, auburnsports.com, will join us. A lot to address with him when our program continues in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Well, the Crimson Tide and the Auburn Tigers are really hot in college basketball, and so are the deals at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville. Alabama and Northwest Florida's largest volume Ram truck dealer is Stivers in Prattville. And at Stivers, they have the largest selection of Ram trucks priced at thousands less than other dealers. How about a 2025 Ram Bighorn 4x4 crew cab with savings of up to $15,000 off sticker price? Also at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, they have fantastic savings on the entire Jeep lineup, like the Wranglers and Jeep Grand Cherokees. Head over to Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram today on Cobbs Ford Road in Prattville, where Price sells cars and trucks. All right, about 27 minutes to the top of the hour on this Tuesday. Our man Brian Matthews, auburnsports.com, joining us as he does each and every week. Brian, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing great, guys. Good morning. I was warming up, getting ready to throw that pitch to the catcher, but I think I'm good to go now.
Yeah, there we go. Brian knows what's up. I thought that, and I'm on the road. I have a little bit of extra time because I'm not punching the clock every day on the bus. I thought yesterday the BMAT's Monday Musings pretty much encapsulated how I see the upcoming changes in the college football playoffs. I thought it was really well written, Brian. Check it out at auburnsports.com. You and I both, in a perfect world, we'd still have, the Southwest Conference,
yes,
and the Big Eight and all that stuff. Things are changing, and Brian, it's all because of 3 words: the almighty dollar. Right?
It is, and that's not the best thing for most things, right? I mean, that's why what a profound statement I just made. But it's what's driving college football right now, because we have revenue sharing coming, because we have NIL. Because these costs are soaring in athletics, and the people that are running it are kind of panicking, finding any way they can to increase the revenue. So that's what's going on, and there's nothing that's going to stop it. So there is going to be some kind of expansion. There is going to be extra games. There is going to be an SEC Big Ten showcase group of games that they're going to sell as a package to make more money. There are going to be 9 SEC regular season games that they're going to use to get more money out of ESPN or whoever they can. So all this is coming. And I think one of the ways that the SEC is trying to protect itself by bringing this is guaranteeing itself those 4 automatic bids to the college football playoff.
Yeah, they'll be meeting in Dallas today discussing this, and I'm sure some other topics about the future of college football. I was reading Heather Dinich on ESPN last night. She's kind of breaking down what she thinks might happen. At one point, part of it, Brian, that I thought was real interesting was about the SEC going to 9 conference games, and really her saying that those are going to be the most important. Those 9 games are really what's going to determine if you make the playoff and where you're seated in the playoff. That the non-conference games are going to have some bearing, but not as much bearing as your conference schedule. I found that interesting that they're putting so much emphasis on conference wins and that non-conference games are not going to maybe hurt you as bad in terms of a loss like a conference loss would.
Yeah, and you know, the conferences under this new deal are going to be able to determine who their automatic qualifiers are. So it'll be up to them. And I think we're going to see probably the SEC and Big Ten have a 3 versus 6 and 4 versus 5 play-in games. Generate more revenue, give more teams chances. Let's do it. So, yeah,
do you like, though, because I've heard some people, Barry and I've talked about this. So, you know, we don't have divisions anymore, 1 through 16. So the 1 and 2, however they break that tie at the end of the year, if there's some, you know, if things come into play there, will not have to play on championship weekend. So that's their bye, basically.
Right.
And then, as you mentioned, 3 plays 6, 4 plays 5. I like that double header thing, but I wonder, is the general public and how do you feel about 1 and 2 not having to play that weekend, just getting into the playoff?
Well, I like it because I can go back to when I was a student at Auburn, you were a student at Alabama. There were 10 teams in the SEC. And winning a regular season championship meant a lot, right? And back then we shared titles and nobody really cared, right? Nobody was mad in 1988 or 89 when Alabama, Auburn, and Tennessee shared the SEC title. Right. One of those teams got picked to go to the Sugar Bowl, but all the other teams raised those trophies. Now we have 16 teams. The odds of winning that title have significantly lowered. So why not give out multiple trophies if everybody ties for the top? So I'm for that.
Yeah.
And I would love to see the 4, 5, 3, 6 games at home. I would love to see the 3 and 4 team get those, be rewarded for finishing above those guys and get to play those games at home.
It's just surreal for me to look on this screen and have Brian talking and John nodding his head on the other side. I've never had. I'll never get used to seeing that at all.
You know, in all the years, Barry, there's been a lot of agreement between.
Yeah, there has.
Yeah. I'm not comfortable with it, not at all. Well, here we come almost to March. Auburn men's basketball now 7 straight weeks as the number 1 team in the country. They had been number 1 for 3 straight weeks in 21-22 season. 7 straight weeks is a long time. It's, you know, after the wins against Arkansas and Georgia, it strikes me that, you know, Auburn has had such a great year. They lead the league by 2 games. But except for a couple of instances, there never have been really that many comfortable wins. I mean, Auburn has had to use everything at their disposal to win these games in this difficult league, Brian.
And I think that is a bit of a concern. Their last sort of big win was Oklahoma. That was February 4th, or right around the 1st of February, I believe.
Right.
So every game since has been a dogfight. And I think that can wear and tear a team when you're in those type of games all the time. So I think it'd be good for Auburn if they could get some of those games where they can put in the walk-ons in the last couple of minutes, you know, and just relax a little bit. I don't, you know, but on the other hand, it's tough for Auburn because every team is taking their best shot. You know, Georgia had a week to prepare. They put in a new zone defense to surprise Auburn. You know, those type of things keep happening, you know, so it makes it a little bit tougher. And I do think that Auburn, you know, featuring just 7 players for most of the minutes is getting a little worn down. So, you know, I think they're probably going to be tough enough to finish this thing out. But, you know, I would not be surprised if once we get to the SEC tournament, they take some steps maybe to spread out the minutes a little bit and try to get some guys a little bit more rest.
And Brian, just the tournament. I mean, there's talk about 13 teams in this league making the NCAA tournament. Right. Those 13 are going to be in Nashville as well. I mean, that whoo. I mean, that's going to be an incredible competition up there for the SEC tournament.
It is, and it'll be interesting because I think Florida's in a similar place that Auburn is. Right? They're rolling toward being a 1 or 2 or 3 seed almost automatically. Alabama is really close to that. I know they got a really tough finish, but you wonder if those 2 or 3 of those top 4 seeds are going to be all in on the tournament this year, right? I'm just being real, and that's going to give other teams maybe a chance to make a run and make a splash there. So it's going to be exciting. And if you look at like the bracketology stuff, you got one SEC team as the last one in. You got 2 more on the bubble. You got another one that's the first one to get a bye. So everybody's clumped up there in that spot where one game can make a big difference.
Brian Matthews, AuburnSports.com. We were reminiscing a little bit yesterday about the days when I was doing several of the broadcasts. Auburn women's basketball went to the final, went to the championship game 4 straight years. I did a couple. Andy Burcham did a couple. Reminiscing about those. Swimming and diving was kicking butt and taking names. What's happened there, Brian?
I think it goes down to coaches, right? Auburn had some all-time great coaches when those programs were competing for and winning national championships. And when those coaches moved on or retired, they haven't been able to replace them with as much as talented guys. I think swimming and diving, you got a former swimmer there who I think is building that program back up. So I think maybe there's some possibilities that it could be a national contender here in the coming years. We'll see. And right now the women's basketball team under Coach Harris, they have had some injuries, but they just struggled to get quite enough talent over here, especially offensively, to really compete in the top half of the SEC. So we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen with Coach Harris at the end of the year. I think that's decision Auburn will have to make, but I think it's probably 50-50 whether she comes back or they move on to try to find an answer there. We'll see.
It's amazing, Brian. Here we are about to wrap up February. Nobody's talking about spring football. Recruiting's kind of a non-topic anymore. It's all about basketball. I get it. I love it. I didn't think we could ever get to this point where basketball was so important. But what about spring? I know, they're certainly planning, getting ready for it. What are you expecting out of spring football with Coach Freeze in a couple of weeks?
Well, spring football is going to be for Auburn in 18 days, March 25th through April 12th, I think it is, something like that. Okay. So it's going to be very condensed. I don't know if they're going to do some practices after A-Day, or we'll see. I do think Auburn's still going to hold A-Day. I don't think most coaches want to, and you see them canceling it. And I don't think this may be the last A-Day, or at least a real game type A-Day or a quasi game. I think the most interesting thing to me about spring practice is on April 5th, Auburn's holding its Big Cat weekend, and that's also the Final Four. So if Auburn makes the Final Four, that is going to be one interesting day for everybody who's involved with Auburn. So we'll see how that goes. But there's going to be a lot of competition at quarterback. They're going to be a lot of competition on that offensive line. They got 16 or 17 scholarship linemen. They brought in 2 transfers. They got a bunch of guys back with starting experience. So that's good. That's going to be interesting to see. But to me, the biggest thing that I would like to see out of winter workouts, out of spring football practice, is this team become a little bit tougher mentally, tougher physically. You saw them kind of fall apart in the second half and the fourth quarter games throughout the fall. That was the difference between them having a winning record and another losing record. And that's something that's got to get solved. And I think it gets solved right now, right? I don't think it gets solved in October or November. I think this is when you take care of those issues.
Yeah. And gosh, so much goes on in the offseason that people have no idea about. When we're back to basketball real quick, the win over Georgia, I think Janai Broom, I know he had 31 points, something like 12 or 13 rebounds. Is he 100% back, Brian?
He looks closer to it. You could see a difference in him, I think. So I would say another few days off. He's got to be 95+% of what he was before that ankle injury. He's also dealing with that same shoulder injury too, a little bit. I'm not saying it's bothering him constantly, but that's another issue. He has to at least work with that shoulder. So, but he's played through it. Chad Baker Mazar's played through it. This team is really, really tough. You got to love the way they play these close games and tend to win them all, just about. I think that says a lot about their character and about their mental and physical toughness, kind of the opposite of what the football team showed last fall. This team is rolling right now, and they're just a couple games away from clinching that SEC regular season championship.
Oh boy, you ain't kidding. Real close. I certainly like their chances there. Heck, I like them in Nashville to maybe clinch that title as well. Is Auburn under Pearl? Have they ever won the regular season and the SEC tournament title in the same year under Pearl?
It's all been different years. 2 regular season and 2 tournament titles. Last year they won the tournament, and I think they finished, I don't know, 2nd, 3rd, 4th in the regular season. I don't remember exactly. But I think if they win the regular season title, I just have, Pearl hasn't said this. This is just my opinion, but I just have a feeling they may back down a little bit and try to get to the tournament in as healthy and as good a shape as possible. Yeah. So I don't know if you play 3 straight games in Nashville, playing just 7 players, 25 to 30 minutes a game. I don't know how that looks for the next week when you're starting the national tournament.
I've always wondered if Lenny Kravitz ever got tired of people saying, "Hey, wasn't your mother on the Jeffersons?"
Roxy Roker, yes,
that's right. That's right. A great musical artist, right? And it comes from some really talented family. His, I think, second cousin is Al Roker of NBC.
The Weatherman.
Today Show, right? Yeah.
How about that?
So,
okay.
Yeah, so that was my feature in Monday Musings this week. And of course, I talked about the playoff, which I've mulled over, and I'm mostly in favor for the changes the SEC and Big Ten are pushing. So we'll see. And of course, that's sponsored by Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. BMAT 25 will get you 25% off right now.
Yep, that's online. BMAT 25, Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. Publix, Piggly Wiggly's, Renfro's, the Kroger in Auburn, Opelika, online and all that. Brian, as always, some great insight, and always appreciate your time. Thanks a bunch. AuburnSports.com. Pretty quick if you want to subscribe. It's pretty seamless process there, right?
It is. Sign up just online in just a few minutes, and I'll be at the baseball game tonight, basketball tomorrow, and we'll, February as it ends, that ends the dead period in recruiting, so that's going to be picking up here in March really soon too.
Okay. Thanks very much, Brian. Appreciate you.
Thank you, buddy. Brian Matthews, AuburnSports.com, joining us here today. Really appreciate that. Yep. Man always has some great content. Barry, I mentioned the article that Heather Dinich penned for ESPN Plus, I believe it is.
How about you?
How about that? If you hadn't tipped me off to ESPN Plus, I wouldn't be able to read it. And very, detailed about what she thinks is going to happen beginning today in Dallas with the meetings and all the big wigs that are showing up.
Right.
Mention the scheduling aspect of it. It certainly seems to me that 9 games are coming. The Big Ten agreement's going to come along with it, but I thought it was interesting that non-conference games are not going to weigh as heavily as conference games in terms of wins and losses. I mean, if Alabama goes to Blooming, let's say, I don't want to use Indiana. They were pretty good last year. But even Minnesota, whoever, and gets beat, that's not going to hurt them as much as like if they beat Mississippi State and Starkville. I'm trying to get a little bit more definition on that about what that might be. I mean, to me, a win's a win, a loss is a loss. I mean, you don't want to lose against La Mo and it not really hurt you that much. I would think a loss like that would kill you. But I just thought that was interesting that conference wins are going to weigh a little heavier than non-conference wins.
I imagine that is driven by the group of 4 because they want those games. And if they're weighted the same win or lose as your conference games, a lot of schools are going to say, well, then why in the world are we playing a group of 4, well, that doesn't help us. I did want to make sure they get those games. It's interesting.
Also,
check it out. Heather Dinich has it at ESPN.com.
And there was another aspect of it, Barry, as I read through it. It certainly seems to me, reading it, that they are leaning toward the 14-game playoff model rather than the 16, which I just don't get. I mean, if you're talking 14, you're talking 16. They're going to 16 eventually. I don't know.
See, that's the thing that John, he tries his best to be logical. He really does. But when somebody doesn't do what he says, why not? I mean, why wouldn't you do that? You're going to do it anyway because I said it and I want it. Why waste all that time? Yeah.
I mean, with 14, it just doesn't. I mean, you're going to have 2 teams that are going to get a bye, which everybody else has got to play. Just have 16 and everybody's got to play, particularly if they go to that championship model where 1 and 2 aren't playing the championship weekend.
Yeah.
So those two teams are kind of getting their bye that week. I don't understand why they're so fixated on just having 14. Just do it. I mean, go ahead and jump in the deep end. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. The only reason why John likes it is because it means more games for him. Why would you not want to do what benefits John the most?
I heard some old goat yesterday. I forgot where I heard it. And he's complaining about how many games these college kids might have to play. And, of course, I roll my eyes and go, here we go again. Oh, too many games. Look, if you're a high school player and you're going to college and you think, I'm not going to play college football because they play too many games, then don't play. I mean, that argument just kills me.
See, that argument kills me. You wait a minute. You don't feel like you need to do everything that's demanded of you? Well, don't do it then. How about it's equitable? How about being fair to the student athletes?
Kind of like,
hey, we're giving them all this. We ought to be able to demand anything we care to demand from them, and they're going to have to like it. No, that's not how it works.
I think demand's too large of a word. They're not demanding it. This is just our rule book. This is how we play. And if you don't like how we play, that's fine. It's good. Just go over and do your little thing. But this is how we play. There's no demand here.
And it's kind of like Trump saying, it's a little more and a little more and a little more.
You don't have to participate. It's kind of like Trump asking those government employees, well, give me the 5 things you did this week. And these people are complaining. Wait a minute. Why is he asking me that? I mean, come on. Give me a break. Too many games.
Also,
look, if you think high school kids are complaining about having to play 15, 16 games if they make the state championship, I don't think so.
Is it the right thing to do? It doesn't matter. It's what I want. Right doesn't have anything. It's demand. This is what I demand.
Is it the wrong thing to do? What's wrong about it? It's football. Don't we love
every time? It's a little more. It's a little more. Oh, by the way, you're also going to have to do this and you're also going to have to do that. And that was last year. This year, you're going to have to do even more. Why? Because I want you to.
It's a free
what's
country.
In it for us? You don't have to play.
Yeah, if you don't like it, take your ball and go home. Yeah, I love it. That sure. Yeah. I mean, isn't that how America was built?
By people demanding more and more out of everybody else for less. I don't know what history you've been reading, but
what do you mean less? I mean,
more demand.
Play the game. Do they not want to play? I mean, it's all about playing the game and having these opportunities to play because, you've got a small window of time that you can play. I want to play as much as I can. I don't want to be sitting at home playing Xbox. Oh,
why not play every day? Then don't every week. 52 weeks a year. Why not have it all the time? Why not? That's what John wants. He's got a Saturday afternoon with nothing to do. Why can't I watch college football? Well, because the players have to go to class and they have to practice and they have to, recuperate. Who cares? I want football on my TV. Jeez.
I understand there's a season, and in that season, you got X amount of time to play a certain amount of games. Yeah. Why play less? I don't get that. We all want more.
Not less. Yeah. just the same. They're not talking about cutting it back. John's talking about more and more and more and more and more all the time with, no
and
other
anybody
reason
out there
I'd sure like to have
tell
it.
me what's wrong with that? Why would you not want more college football? I don't know why let's just keep it the same. Well, they played 8 games since the 40s. We don't need more games. And of course, we've gone to 10 and they've gone to 12 regular season games,
right,
which we currently are at. I was a big proponent of 9 conference games. Why do we need 9? Why not? Why would you not play more?
You have to have a reason for doing some things, right? Instead of, what's the worst thing that could happen? He and I will never. You don't get any of that money, so stop it. It ain't trickling down to you.
No. But that's what they're doing. That's why the conferences are doing it. That's why ESPN wants it. And for NIL, they're going, we got to have the best revenue source and stream we can get, and it ain't playing La Monroe.
It just seems to me like John is so wrong, so absolutely 100% wrong that everybody's got to see it. John's like, I want to see it, and why wouldn't they want to do it? I mean, what's wrong with that? What's the worst that could happen? Drives me nuts.
And this goes back to the many, many years of, we got to get rid of this bowl season and have a playoff. No, what's wrong with the bowl? They're great. Well, we have a playoff. We start with 4. Now we're at 12. Now we're about to go to 14. Then it'll be 16. More, it's more. It's all about more.
Yeah, believe me. And it never stops. It's all about more. That's it in a nutshell. I agree with them.
Isn't the basketball tournament about to expand again as well?
And that's wrong. I mean, just because that does it doesn't mean that all of a sudden is a beacon of what is right and pure in the world. Jeez. He's so wrong on this, and I just can't make him understand.
Let's go chat line. Who's right here? Am I wrong? Do we need more? I'm looking for the chats, looking for the emails. Come on, let me hear it from you.
Coming up in just a bit, Travis Ryer on YouTube. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Dixie Electric Plumbing and Air rallies for you. No matter the problem, Dixie will tackle it. They're licensed and trusted electricians, plumbers, air and garage door technicians are ready to win for you. From toilets to garbage disposals, circuit breakers to HVAC systems, Dixie never fumbles. Don't throw away your hard-earned money on second-string contracting companies. Score big with Dixie. After all, they are your biggest fan. Visit calldixie.com or dial them up locally at 262-2946.
All right, man, grab a Budweiser and take a knee. It is the best time of the year. It's baseball season. That means sunshine. It means behind-the-back peanut tosses. And it means sharing some cold, frosty Budweisers with your boys. Because there's nothing more American than watching America's game with America's beer. So let me ask you something. Are you ready to bring your A game? Are you ready to cheer every frozen rope down the line and amazing catch at the warning track? Are you ready for pitcher's duels and slugfests? Tell me, are you ready for the thrill of an incredible walk-off victory? I can't hear you. Are you ready for Budweiser and baseball? Then get on your feet, raise an ice-cold Bud, and let's make this season larger than life. Great times are waiting. Grab some Bud!
Enjoy responsibly. Budweiser Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
Okay, we're getting close to the top of the hour. Travis Ryer going to join us here momentarily. Ryer on YouTube, talking Tide, along with a lot of other great topics that we enjoy discussing with Travis on a weekly basis. Bama tonight, Auburn tomorrow.
Yep.
In SEC basketball play, a triple header tonight in the SEC in terms of starting at 8 o'clock. You got to get that multicam going if you want to watch all three at once.
Yep. Well, also this, before we get to Travis, what has changed? What has really changed? There is an official statement from the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles that in response to an invitation from the White House to visit and spend some time commemorating their Super Bowl championship with President Donald Trump. The NFL media report says the Eagles have told the White House in response to that invitation to visit to commemorate the Super Bowl championship that they would be honored to go. The ESPN report says the Eagles look forward to receiving the invitation. If you'll remember, and maybe you don't, I didn't, in 2018, when President Trump was in office, the White House invited the Eagles to attend, same invitation, and several of the players refused to attend, so Trump rescinded the invitation. Now the Eagles say they'd be honored to visit and, quote, look forward to receiving the invitation. What has changed? Why now and not then?
Well,
I wonder.
First of all, I got a couple of thoughts about that because I saw it. I don't know all the particulars. I didn't know if Philadelphia didn't want to go or the White House had not extended an invitation. I've said this many a time. I don't know who started this. I think it maybe was Ronald Reagan, but I think we're done with White House visits. It's kind of like rolling trees with toilet paper. I mean, you've been there, done that. I'm not sure the president really enjoys it. It feels like it's a waste of time. He's busy doing other stuff.
Jersey.
He's got to go out there and yuck it up with these guys. And, it's a lot of time and expense to get them up there and whatnot. But first and foremost, I think that's been played. That's just me. Number two, I don't think Philadelphia is a big Trump town.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think it is. Maybe it's becoming more of one.
Yeah,
but I don't think
Pennsylvania.
I don't think Philadelphia is a big Trump town. Yeah.
The one thing that's valid there when you make the comparison to Auburn, which I get, and rolling the trees. The one thing that's valid there, and you and I have brought this up before.
That's just the first thing that popped into my mind. I could have used a lot of other examples. I don't know.
Definitely not difficult for me to believe that. Not difficult at all. But it's the same thing with rolling at Toomer's Corner. You've got to set parameters.
Yes.
Trump has the Super Bowl champion, so, has an invitation. This year, the Eagles say they'll go. 2018, a lot of guys says, heck no way. NCAA men's basketball Division I champion, college football playoff champion, they get to go. What about swimming and diving? What about that Alabama's national champion women's doubles tennis team? Did they get the same thing with rolling Toomer's Corner? Do you roll it just for football? Do you roll it for SEC championship in?
Oh yeah. Well, they rolled it when they beat Alabama the other night in Tuscaloosa. They're going to roll it. Yeah,
but,
sure.
But you got to wonder. Cross country. They win the cross country championship. Do you roll Toomer's Corner?
Oh, well,
where does it stop with the presidential invitations? Where does it stop with rolling Toomer's Corner?
I'll say this, Barry. I don't know if Philadelphia is going to show up to the White House or not, but I feel pretty safe in saying that if the Jacksonville Jaguars won the Super Bowl, they would take a visit to the White House to see the president. What do you think?
I'd drive them there.
Wonder what Travis Ryer thinks about that. Ryer on YouTube talking Tide with Travis joining us here today on this Tuesday as he does each and every week. And Travis, good morning. Hope you're doing well today.
I'm doing great. Yeah, I think the best way to describe that scenario would be from the outhouse to the White House. The story of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Currently, I don't know. What's the vibe now with Liam Cohen and the coaching staff that he's assembled and the general manager soap opera and all that? What's the vibe right now, Travis?
Hope, renewed hope, which is something you really need when you're trying to renew season tickets. Forget about even trying to sell season tickets at a price that we know the professional sports and even the Power 5 sports, Power 5 football, are looking to pass on to consumers these days. So just from a financial perspective, I think it was big for the Jags to go ahead and make those moves. And, yeah, I mean, the expectation is for Liam Cohen to help take Trevor Lawrence to the next level as a NFL quarterback. And then, you know, with the change to a general manager, a change in approach in terms of the kind of guys they're going to go after, starting with this combine process that's underway this week.
And I wanted to ask you about that, Travis, but what's the status, the update, the news on the facility? I mean, we've all been to the Gator Bowl. I've never thought it was a professional NFL type venue. I know, obviously, you know, that's about to change. Where is the new venue? And I know it's going to be extremely expensive in the completion date.
Yeah, the facility now is, to me, it's kind of along the lines of Raymond James and some of those stadiums of that era. Mid-90s or whatever, you know, the Tampa Stadium went from the sombrero to Raymond James. The Gator Bowl transformed into what it has since become, and this latest iteration is going to be absolutely amazing. I don't know if it's going to be along the lines of SoFi or something like that, but probably going to run a couple $2 billion or so before it's all said and done. So absolutely, every modern amenity and then some is going to be the expectation for the new venue.
I'm enthused. Believe me, I remember when it was.
Where will it be located?
Same place. That's why they're going to have to.
Yeah.
They're going to have to move to home games to Orlando or Gainesville is going to be the plan. So that is expected to come down here in the next month or so in terms of a finalized temporary relocation for home games. So it's going to be logistically a lot, and they're already playing games in London. So yeah, there's going to be a couple seasons where it's anything but a home field advantage for the Jags.
Travis Reier is with us. Reier on YouTube. Tons of things that he's covering out there. Alabama basketball. They've got a big win over Kentucky and Tuscaloosa under their belts from the weekend. Mississippi State tonight on ESPN2. Over the last 10 games, Mark Sears averaging 19.4 points per game. In your estimation, are they getting what they need from him? Is he doing his job? Because we get a lot of our chatters that call him Milroe-esque in terms of his impact on the basketball program. Travis, do you like what he's doing? Do you think he's doing what he needs to do to help this team?
Well, unlike Jalen Milroe, you couldn't move Jalen off the ball as a quarterback. So you can move Mark Sears off the ball at the guard position. It sounds like that's been beneficial to him, going more to the shooting guard position, LeBaron Philon taking on more of the point guard role. And last two games, Mark Sears has 32.5 points per game and was good once again against Kentucky over the weekend. So absolutely, you know, if they can do that and get that kind of production out of him, but at the same time not suffer in terms of turnovers. Look, they were already turning it over with Mark on the ball. So you might as well go ahead and put him somewhere where maybe he's a little more comfortable, or at least where you know he can definitely give you something more in terms of production, and take your shot with Philon and maybe some other guys more on the ball. So that's been good for him, and it needs to be, because we know this is murderer's row that they're going through right now. I know Mississippi State tonight feels like a little bit of a chance to catch your breath, but kind of thought that with Ole Miss a few weeks ago, a month ago or so in Tuscaloosa. We know how that played out. So I still don't think this team can take anything for granted. You got to go to Tennessee coming up this weekend. You get a really, really good Florida team in Tuscaloosa midweek next week. Then you go to Auburn. So, you know, they just need to try to survive this stretch. You know, they can get through these next four at 3-1 somehow. That would be a hell of a run. 2-2, I think, would be acceptable.
And I'm still hearing, Travis, even with what is coming up, you just mentioned it, some very tough games, going to Nashville for the SEC tournament. There's still a strong feeling out there that Alabama will be a number one seed.
Yeah, if you listen to the folks that have been doing that for a long time, that still looks to be the case. And that would be great. I mean, I've talked about it before. That's a nice achievement type of thing. It's a great tweet is what it is, too, with a graphic, number one seed. But at the end of the day, I'd rather be a 2 with a draw that works for me better than a 1, and I've got, just tough matchup starting in the 32, and then have to absolutely – everything's going to be a grind. You know that. It is. But give me draw over seed any day. But sure, from a recruiting perspective, a publicity perspective, you always want to be a 1.
With that being said, when they get through this gauntlet to end the regular year and get into the SEC tournament, will they place any value at all in that?
In the seeding?
In the SEC tournament.
Oh, the tournament.
Giving it the old college try and all that.
Well, what we've seen from Alabama under Nate Oates is that they don't mail it in SEC tournaments. I mean, he seems like the kind of guy that if they're going to throw it in the air, he wants to win it. Now, there certainly could be a residual price that is paid if you do make a deep run in what is essentially going to be like the Elite Eight. In some ways, I think, once you get even to the quarters of that tournament, the potential with the seeding for an NCAA tournament to kind of look that way. So, my expectation is Nate's not going to change in terms of his approach. Will it be the worst thing if, say, you go 1 and out, or if you just go 1-1, something like that? For Alabama, I don't think it would be.
Travis, switching to the future of college football, I understand there's some meetings in Dallas today. Last week they were in New Orleans. Read some accounts of what some of the national writers think might happen. One of the things that caught my eye was 9 conference games in the SEC. And there seems to be this feel that, if they go to 9 conference games, that somehow they're going to weigh conference wins a little heavier over maybe a non-conference win, that's really going to kind of determine, your playoff positioning and possibly getting into the playoff. Your thoughts about that, or anything else that you think might come out of these meetings in Dallas today?
Yeah, that'd be a sensible approach, kind of like quad 1 wins in basketball. How those are weighed versus other quad wins or losses for that matter. It'll be interesting, though. I mean, if you have this alliance between the SEC and the Big Ten, are you just going to count those scheduled type of games similar to what you would a conference game? I would expect that this is going to come down the pike. There's great potential, I think, obviously, from a financial standpoint. You play 9 conference games, you kind of assure yourself that's one more spot on the schedule that you don't have to sort of live through with maybe inferior competition, those type of things, FCS opponents. So absolutely, I think it makes sense. And as you expand the playoff from a competitive perspective, it does, because it's not as hazardous to say some of your team's chances. And then also, if you have a mandate, like it appears the Big Ten and the SEC might, we'll go to 16, but we're going to have half the field. We're going to have 4 and 4 at least.
Right.
Then you got a little bit more of a net to go ahead and go to 9 games as well. What I'll be interested in is, okay, what are you going to do with the conference championship games? They make too much money. A lot of that's already been negotiated, I know, into TV contracts and things like that. So, that's probably more what I'm interested in, big picture wise.
Do you like?
Yeah. What do you think about?
Because I've heard a scenario where the 1 and 2 teams are not going to play, and they'll have the 3, 6, 4, 5 playing on conference championship weekend.
Yeah, kind of like a play-in situation. I've heard that too. Maybe that's how you deal with, say, the group of 5s and making sure there's representation in different areas in an expanded field too, and you don't get caught in a situation like you did this past year, although Arizona State really sort of validated itself in a lot of ways and absolutely having Texas beat, it looked like, there in Atlanta. But I could see that being a part of that too, as you try to kind of play in more maybe than saying, okay, you won your conference, you're a 2 seed, or you're a 3, things like that.
Yeah. Given the fact that it's been a couple of years that I actually bumped into you in Jacksonville at a Jacksonville University baseball game, figured I ought to ask you this question. Did you get a chance to watch the Tide play in Jacksonville and see the big comeback win over Ohio State?
Right across the river from Breast Field there at Jacksonville University.
Yeah.
The baseball grounds of Jacksonville. I think it's Bank 121 ballpark or something now. But anyway, yes, I was there Sunday for that craziness. Yeah. I took Pops out there.
Yeah.
Saw me with Pops at the JV
I got
game
to meet it. I got to meet Pops. Yeah.
And that's kind of like an Elvis sighting.
No kidding.
So not many people get to experience that.
If I'd have had a Sharpie and a piece of paper, Travis, I would.
Well, that was your chance.
Yeah. I know.
And look, we're at the game Sunday, and an Alabama fan walks up and says hello and is like, "Wait, is this Pops?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's Pops." Whoa, take it back. This is, and Pops doesn't know what to think about all that. He's like, "What? Who are these? What?" Yeah. But no, it was amazing. It absolutely was. I actually threw Pops under the bus in the top of the fourth when it was 10-0.
Yeah.
Because I said, look, Alabama's 2-0. You come out here, and now they're getting dimed. It wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
Pops.
Yeah.
And he just, all he could say was, I'm sorry. And then right after that, Justin LeBron is something else.
He's amazing. Amazing player.
A couple of 3-run bombs, and they were to deep right center. They were opposite field. And you look at LeBron and you think, that guy doesn't have that kind of pop. But the first one he hit to right center is the second longest home run I've seen in that ballpark at games I've been to. And I think they had it at 440. That's opposite field. And I know it's aluminum bat and all that, but still.
Yeah, but the guy's 6'3" and about 170, it looks like.
He is, but he has that length and that ability to extend, and it's pretty amazing to watch. And so, yeah, it was crazy. You know what? It gave those mid-'90s SEC baseball vibes, like when they played for a couple of years. Remember they played the SEC tournament in Columbus, Georgia in that bandbox? With those loaded bats. Those loaded bats, and the guys are all whatever they were back then. They were jacked up. The ball was flying like that. So it was a lot of fun. Yeah, we had a good time. Had Pops out there, had the youngest daughter. So perfect day, too, because Friday night was brutal. And Saturday was chilly, but Sunday was perfect.
That's outstanding. Yep. Great stuff. Travis, I was going to talk about this later, but I'm just curious to get your thoughts if you've seen it. If you hadn't, we'll just move on. The Fox Nation special on Alabama football, The Tides That Bind. Have you been able to see that yet?
I haven't. And to me, that would be a better 30 for 30.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm an Alabama fan. I need to relive that. And I know other fans are out there. Oh, it's 9-4. Well, 9-4 isn't exactly it these days in Tuscaloosa, really any day in Tuscaloosa. I think that'd be a great 30 for 30. I think the hashtag too soon might apply.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, they've only dropped one episode, and it dealt with the Georgia week, preparation for Georgia and the game and all that type stuff. What really surprised me, Travis, is just the access that they got. I mean, it's from locker rooms to coaches meetings to hearing what the coaches are talking about on the headsets during the game, to two sorority girls putting their makeup on to get ready for the game. I mean, they didn't miss a beat, but the access I thought was really, you'd never seen anything like that, but it was definitely in my mind targeted to a younger demographic. I don't think older Alabama fans are going to like seeing some of the stuff that I saw last night when I watched it.
It was MTV two-a-days-ish in some ways, maybe. Yeah,
that's
interesting. But you would think that would be something more agreed upon by, maybe a Boise State or an Arizona State or a program like that. But as we know, I mean, Kalen, from the time he took the job a year ago, basically if you had a Zoom or Skype account, you had him on. I mean, he was wide open. I get it too. I mean, it was great. I'm not complaining. It's great, I think, that he's been as accessible. I don't think he's been as accessible this offseason, or people haven't wanted to access him as much because I don't see or hear him as much. I mean, last year at this time, it was every day. Kalen DeBoer was on some platform, something. But yeah, that's what I've been interested in going into this offseason. What did he learn from all that, and would it change the approach as they head into year 2? That's what I've been kind of interested in.
Me as well. I'll be interested to see what the upcoming episodes are about, because there's going to be some losses, obviously, that they got to. And I don't know how many episodes they have. I don't know how many are part of this series. But I thought the access was, never seen anything like that.
Yeah, if I'm Alabama, I'm like, do I really need to piss off the fan base all over again? Because that's what the show is ultimately probably going to do.
On the popcorn at the screen.
They were finally starting to calm down a little bit. No. Let's relive it. Let's do it again. Jeez.
Yeah, I kind of thought that too. I'm with you. Yeah. All right, man, I know you're all over the place.
30 years from now, let's see it. 30 years from now.
Yeah, exactly. So you're all over the place. Let our viewers and our listeners know how they can follow you. Ryer on YouTube, Talking Tide, Talking Jags. Man, you're all over the place. Let them know how they can find you.
Yeah, you can catch me on X at Travis Ryer, TravisReier. Also on YouTube, Ryer on YouTube.
Outstanding. Appreciate you, Travis.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, buddy. We'll talk next week. Travis Ryer joining us here as he does each and every Tuesday. Well, probably got to take a break, Barry. I want to touch on that a little bit more, just a second or two, on the tides that bind. Even me, for a guy like me, I'm kind of going, ooh, really? Wow.
Do you want to put that out there?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. People just watching it and get madder and madder and madder and madder. And now who needs the aggravation? Well, we are into our second hour, about 40 minutes left in our live show. He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Local banking expertise, the newest innovations and technology, personal attention, genuine hospitality. It's all just part of the Riverbank and Trust difference. They invite you to experience it for yourself. Welcome to banking above and beyond at Riverbank and Trust. Locations throughout the River region, locations throughout the state of Alabama. Riverbank and Trust.
Introducing Budweiser Zero. 0% alcohol, 0 grams of sugar. Full Budweiser flavor. A refreshing alcohol-free brew that tastes like the real thing. Budweiser Zero. 0 alcohol, 0 compromise.
The Destin Connection Seafood Market offers the freshest seafood direct from the Gulf of Mexico with deliveries daily. Snapper, grouper, pompano, flounder, copia, along with medium, large, and jumbo shrimp, hand-picked crab meat, and chucked oysters. They can even cook your order for easy, quick pickup. The Destin Connection can make a po' boy with any of their seafood items that folks in New Orleans rave about. Go by and see them at 3750 Norman Bridge Road or call 288-4272 for pickup orders.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. About 23 minutes past the hour here on a Tuesday. Usually at this time, Barry, well, we discuss the Phantom's daily dog.
Yes. Will we today? It's time,
we will.
You know. Yeah.
It is. Yep.
Phantom's
it is time.
daily dog. Every day, the Phantom issues his release of his favorite dog on the card.
Favorite dog.
We all have favorite dogs. Some people like a Labrador. I'm a lap dog kind of guy. You know, give me a spaniel or something. Every day, the Phantom has a different favorite dog.
Yep. And We're going to recap last night's dog. It was Texas Tech at home catching 1.5. Had a lead early in this game, Barry, but could not hold on to it.
Yeah.
You got to be able to hold on, and Houston comes into Lubbock and wins the game and covers the spread. So we didn't start the week out on a good note.
Yeah.
But tonight, Barry, we are going to an SEC game tonight. We're going to go SEC. And this game will be at 8 o'clock on ESPN2. The Alabama Crimson Tide is hosting the Mississippi State Bulldogs. I'm looking at VegasInsider.com. Mississippi State is an 8.5-point underdog in the game tonight. Alabama, of course, coming off the big win against Kentucky on Saturday.
Yeah.
Short week for the Crimson Tide. Still a little hyped up about that win. Big crowd at Coleman Coliseum, 15,000, place going wild. I don't expect that to be the scene tonight at 8 o'clock, 8:15 on a Tuesday, coming off a big win. This Mississippi State team, Barry, they're scrappy. They've beaten some teams maybe that surprised some people, thought, oh, wow, Mississippi State. I recall, Barry, they went into Oxford a couple of weeks ago and beat Ole Miss at home. Don't forget about that one. State's coming off a loss at Oklahoma, a tough loss. You're not supposed to lose to a team like Oklahoma.
Should not have happened. You're right.
Got to get it back right. They're catching 8.5. We're going to take that 8.5 and Mississippi State at Alabama tonight. Just too many points for the Tide to jump over, coming off that big win and looking ahead to a trip to Knoxville on Saturday.
You know, the Phantom knows much better than I about the meaning of this. Yesterday is the day to come out with your, they don't call it an injury report like they do in the NFL. They call it an availability report. And it's not a national thing. The SEC compels schools in football and basketball and everything to release their availability report. Alabama, on their availability report, has listed for the first time starting forward Grant Nelson. Now, he is listed as probable, which means, you know, he's on the injury report, but maybe his chances of playing extended minutes are smaller. Maybe the chances of him playing well are smaller. There are 4 Alabama players on the injury report. Latrell Reitzel, he's on it every day. He's out for the year. Yeah. Houston Mallett, he's going to redshirt. Darian Reed, I keep wondering whether Darian Reed is really on the Alabama team or not, because they haven't ruled him out for the year. But they keep putting him on every, he's out. He's out again. Yeah, he's out again. Out again. But Grant Wilson is on it. So, you know, my take there is that even he's probable, even if he does play, might not be 100%. Maybe the Phantom saw that as well.
Could be. He did spend some time on the bench against Kentucky Saturday for not following Nate Oates' 3 important steps to stay on the floor.
Yes.
You know, assist, defense, and don't turn it over.
Yes.
So I think he had some issues with that. Maybe that's what injured him. Maybe his psyche got injured.
Yeah, that's maybe it.
So that's your Phantom's Daily Dog. State catching 8.5 tonight in Tuscaloosa. All right, so last night I mentioned it to Travis. I watched this Fox Nation series. Episode 1's the only one that's dropped so far.
Yep.
Entitled The Tides That Bind. And Fox Nation was able to have just unlimited access, from what it sounds to me, from coaches' meetings to players' meetings to watching sorority girls put their makeup on before a game to tailgating to you name it.
Right.
But the interested me was the meetings, the locker room footage, the pregame footage in the locker room, on the sidelines footage, hearing what the coaches are talking about in the headsets. I mean, it was really, I'd never seen anything really with that much access. As I watched it, as I mentioned to Travis, if there again, it didn't really, I know what people enjoy, the younger demographic wants to see. But if you're an old guard Alabama fan that, remembers the day when, Bryant-Denny was only 59,000 seats, I don't think you're going to like this. I don't think you're going to like all this exposure. I don't think you're going to like them pulling the curtain back a little bit. The locker room scenes and the practice scenes I love because you got to see these coaches kind of getting on these guys from time to time. There's a little language in there, nothing too bad, but football language, as I would call it. But as Travis mentioned, did Alabama really need to do that? Is this something they needed to do?
Are they ticking their fans off all over again? I got to feel like Bama fans are conflicted when they watch that because I got to believe, honestly, that they like knowing what's going on in the program. They like having the access and being able to tell their buddies at the water cooler, well, I saw Justice Haynes in the workout room and he didn't look, I saw it as such and such and so and act like, they're insiders. But they don't like watching it because they don't like everybody else seeing it, Man, It's great that I get to see it. I get to lord it over my buddies and play Jeff and act like I'm an insider and all that. But man, I don't want Kirby seeing that. Or I don't want Napier seeing that, or I don't want Brian Kelly seeing that. And all these guys, they're all about themselves and being exposed. This is what you get when you get to the age of NIL. These guys get a chance to expose their brand. Hey, this guy's pretty cool. Kind of like him, as opposed to some guys mess up their brand, like the guy who orchestrated the Alabama baseball team to flip off Ohio State in the post-game celebration when they won the baseball game. Some things help your visibility and help your bottom line and help your brand. Some things don't. So I imagine the players love it. If I was a coach, I wouldn't love it. And why Fox Nation? Why not a sports channel?
Well, I wonder that too. Nation? And there were several players that were spotlighted,
right?
About NIL and what NIL opportunities that they have, among other things. But there were several players. You can probably guess which ones were.
Right.
And I'm wondering about that too. Fox Nation. I mean, what 18-year-old is going to subscribe to Fox Nation because it's a pay-for streaming service, and watch that? So I thought that was a little odd having it on that platform. There again, the first episode's really about Georgia and the week prior to that, and some game footage as well. So what's going to happen from this point on? There again, there were 4 losses in the season. There were some good and bad. I wonder what the remaining episodes are going to be about. And there again, is it interesting enough to keep following it? They're going to drop a new episode every week. I think the next one drops tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I mean, I felt like I'd already seen this before. I mean, Saban had so many programs and documentaries about him, and Saban's a part of this episode as well. ESPN's Game Day, all those guys, they feature them as well, and kind of a behind the scene, how that works. So if you like that kind of stuff behind the scenes, getting maybe some access that you've never seen, I mean, you'll enjoy it. There again, I don't think the older demographic, I think they're going to look at it and go, I don't like this. Well, it's too much razzmatazz. Yeah. They don't need to be doing that. That's not what we're built for. Of course, that's the way the game is going. You better get
yeah, you're missing the bus if you react that way. But Fox Nation, you got some of the shows. I'm looking them up. I don't subscribe. Full disclosure. 100 Days with Tommy Lauren. Is that how you pronounce it?
You get a 7-day free trial, Barry, if you want to go in there and take a look and pull out, because you get a free trial if you want to.
Yeah, you got
Tommy Lauren is part of Outkick. She's part of that deal.
Okay. 80s quiz show with Chuck Woolery is on Fox Nation. 100 Days with Tommy Lauren. Abby Goes to Space Camp. Portraits of George W. Bush.
Now they do have a Yellowstone, the
Kevin Costner Yellowstone 150.
I think that'd be pretty cool. I'd like to see that.
alien abductions with Abby Hornacek and Alabama football.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem to follow, it doesn't seem to belong.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I will say it's very well produced. I'll give them that. I mean, they did a good job doing it. There again, the platform that it's on, how many young people are going to watch it, and did they really need this? And I think Travis made a good point. Maybe Arizona State needs it. And I don't know. I guess these coaches and these administrators go, man, we'll take all we can get. I mean, in this day and age, it's so cutthroat and everybody's looking for an edge. We'll do it. Or do you let Georgia do it and you not do it? I think there's some of that involved with it as well. So maybe Fox Nation will do one on Auburn basketball that we'll be able to watch next year during basketball. So maybe, Fox Nation.
Yeah, with a championship caliber team. Yeah. Chris the Bammer says, who's the narrator? Do you know? It's probably the same ones. Sheila Ward, probably Ed. Who all do we hear about? The kid who played the kid on Sling Blade.
I don't think there is a narrator. I don't believe there is one. I don't recall if there is one. It went over me.
Yeah.
It's just more, you're hearing the coaches and the players and the fans and all that type stuff talk. So I don't recall there much narration.
Okay. Imagine it wasn't Eli. Let's take a break. It
was not Eli.
Still got the topic wheel coming up in just a moment, and other stuff as well. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Hey, joining us today is Mary Ann from Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry, 8163 Vaughn Road in Pepper Tree. And it looks like Mary Ann's in the repair shop there at Marguerite's, which is very important because Mary Ann, from time to time, a bracelet or a necklace or something, might break or something might happen. And you have a full service repair shop there at Marguerite's.
We do, definitely. Yeah. Don't worry. I'm not going to be the one to repair your jewelry, but I am in the shop today. So I've got all the tools around, and we really do. When they say we make it, we really make it. We do at Marguerite's. We have 3 in-house jewelers, which is amazing. Custom engraving machine, laser engraving, hand tools, you name it, 3D printer. And I hear that your wife may be in need of us pretty soon.
Yep. We were out of town and she was taking off a sweater and her necklace got caught and it broke the chain. I said, honey, no sweat. When we get back home, I'm taking it straight to Marguerite's. They'll have it repaired in no time.
Definitely, yes. Sweaters, long sleeve shirts, or gosh, like a toddler, whoever. A chain sometimes gets pulled and we can do it in-house. I've had so many people come in to Marguerite's and just say, I need a new chain. I broke mine. I'm just like, well, you can get a new chain, but we can actually repair it here. We've got torches and laser welders and so many different things to fix those chains. And so, just bring it. We can fix it up in-house, which is great. It's not going anywhere. And we can also size those rings up. Or my mom broke a bracelet. I never took it off, and she had to have a little medical procedure, and it's like hanging on by a thread. So I carried it with me today to get it fixed. So you snag something, don't worry. We can get it knocked out and fixed at Marguerite's.
Open 7 days a week for your convenience there in Pepper Tree on Vaughn Road, 8163 Vaughn Road. Mary Ann, I'm telling you, I'm bringing that necklace as soon as I get back in town. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, back at it. And Mary Ann, man, a lot going on out at Marguerite's. Got to go by and see our good friends out there. They'll take care of all of your jewelry needs.
It is our Tuesday show. Already Brian Matthews, AuburnSports.com, Travis Ryer on YouTube. A lot of things catching up from last night. This would have been a good one upon retrospect for a daily dog. Entering yesterday, NBA teams had lost 1,552 straight games when trailing by 24 or more points in the fourth quarter.
Wow.
That's until last night. The Minnesota Timberwolves were 24 down in the fourth quarter in their game against the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah.
24-point comeback. and they won in overtime by 3 in Oklahoma City. How does that feel? That should have been a
yeah, they NBA teams have been able to go on big spurts about scoring. I mean, I don't know what it is, but yeah, they can. You know, I saw a game, I think there was an NBA game last week where a team was down big and ended up scoring like 25 in the second quarter or something to take a lead. It was amazing. Well, we saw it in the women's game, in the Auburn, Alabama women's game.
Yeah,
Auburn had early in the.
Yep, had a huge lead, and I think Auburn had a 16-point first half lead over Alabama, and then Auburn trailed at halftime. How does that happen? Where you give up a 16-point lead and a half, all of a sudden you're doing everything great, everything's wonderful, everything's fine, then all of a sudden you stop doing that, and I mean you turn the other way. It's the way of.
I'm still just blown away that Major League Baseball is not going to be on ESPN after this season, and ESPN was paying them $500 million to showcase and to promote and to play their games on their airwaves.
Yeah.
But Major League Baseball says they're not promoting it enough.
Yes,
and
correct. And they were glad that ESPN opted out. It was ESPN's move to opt out of the 2 final seasons of the contract. And the industry insiders say it's not because ESPN is hemorrhaging money and can't afford the $550, which they may not be able to, but it's an act of fiscal discretion rather than, cutting corners or whatever.
So for the life of me, I still cannot understand you're going to cut baseball. I mean, it's the middle of July and not a lot's happening. Put on a baseball game and, and just have it on in the background or whatever. I mean, I do that from time to time. I mean, I might not pay a lot of attention, but hey, the game's on, why not? But they're going to pay the NBA, the National Basketball Association, $76 billion. I don't get it, because all I'm hearing is that the ratings for the NBA are terrible. The game, people say, is terrible. I disagree with that a little bit, but that's what I hear. People don't think the game's very good. Ratings are terrible.
I haven't enjoyed it.
The league is really made up of about 7 or 8 players that people know. I mean, the other night, ESPN had on the Grizzlies playing, who were they playing? Cleveland. And I thought to myself, how many people are watching this game?
Cleveland has the best record in the NBA.
Who knows that?
They have a chance to be one of the top 6 seasons ever for a team in the NBA in terms of wins and losses.
Yes. And I heard that, and I'm thinking, why am I just hearing about that? I mean, I know
evidently,
the NBA
$76 billion ain't trickling down to you. They're paying all that money for exposure. And John was about to say, how many people even knew that the Cleveland Cavaliers have the best record in the NBA? Sounds like they're wasting money on the NBA to me, doesn't it?
I mean, I got to tell you, man, when I heard that, they're 47-10.
Yeah.
Now Boston's only 6 games back, so I mean that's pretty good. But
6
anyway,
games. That's a lot.
Yeah, or Oklahoma City's 46-11. They're not too far out. There's another team, small market. Who'd have thought Oklahoma City was going to be where they are?
Cleveland and Oklahoma City are the class of the NBA right now. Where are the Lakers? Where are the Celtics? Where are the Bulls?
And you're paying $76 million for Oklahoma City and the Cleveland Cavaliers? Are you kidding me?
$76 billion.
Billion.
Yeah.
How do you do that? $76 billion.
That's a lot of money, John.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. That is a lot of money.
And baseball can't get. I don't see it, Mary. I just do not.
Well,
see it. 11. I'm trying to do the math. How do you do? See, $76 billion over 11 years.
Oh, listen to this. This is going to be good. John trying to work that out in his head. Look, this is a confession. I love baseball. I don't know anybody who loves baseball more than I do. I've got a ton of friends who love it as much as I do. But I have kind of sworn off Major League Baseball. I don't watch a ton of games. I'll watch the Braves. I'll definitely watch the postseason. I watched a lot of the Dodgers when they won the World Series. And yes, the Dodgers won the World Series. But Major League Baseball escapes me a little bit. Way too much accent on the analytics, on the hitters swinging for the fences, and the pitchers throwing 105 miles an hour. It's either a strikeout or a home run. I think I said a couple of years ago, the number was 44% of the at-bats, not even the pitches, 44% of the at-bats result in the ball not being put in play. Either a strikeout or a walk or something like that. I can't deal with that. That's because the analytics say the thing you want more than anything else is a 3-run homer. Well, you ain't going to hit a 3-run homer all the time. So I love college baseball. I love college baseball. Major League Baseball, my heart is in it, but it's not the same as it used to be. So
I'm with you, and I'm
part of it. Man. Part of it is because of leadership. I'm not a big fan of Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred. He kind of bull in a china shop kind of guy. For instance, all right, Rob Manfred said this. He said that he does not believe, in response to ESPN opting out of the final 2 years. ESPN's got him this year. They got Sunday Night Baseball, which I would watch. But after this year, nothing. And Rob Manfred says that we do not believe that pay TV, ESPN's primary distribution platform, is the future of video distribution or the best platform for our content. Basically, when he says pay TV, he means cable television.
Sure,
we do not believe that pay TV is the future of video distribution. 80% of Major League Baseball's national TV games are televised by 3 networks: ESPN, TBS, and FS1. Those are their 3 major cable networks: ESPN, TBS, FS1. So in taking a jab at ESPN, how do you think the people at FS1 and TBS feel about the guy who's the commissioner of one of their big contracts saying, we don't believe these guys are the future of what we want to do?
And I wonder, Barry, how many people are going to, I understand like some of these teams are working out deals where you can, stream every Braves game if you want to.
Yes.
I mean, how many people are going to pay for that? I mean, I guess they think there's a market out there for it. Maybe the production cost is not that high, so it equals out. But for the NBA to have a $76 billion deal and the NFL to have a $111 billion deal,
I
mean, those are staggering numbers. And baseball only had a $500 million deal. Something ain't right there.
Either personally, I think the NBA is overvalued.
Woo.
John's like, who in the world wants to watch the Cleveland Cavaliers? Well, the Cavaliers have the best record in the NBA.
But
really?
Okay,
so what? But, it's still Cleveland.
Yes, but goes back to the Notre Dame and the Dallas Cowboy deal. People want to watch LeBron. They don't care what the Lakers' record is. They want to watch Steph. Don't care what the Warriors' record is. Doesn't matter. Memphis has this really good player,
Ja Morant.
Ja Morant. He comes in the game the other night, and I'm thinking, I've heard of this guy, but he plays for Memphis. Nobody knows him. It doesn't matter that they're good or Cleveland's good or Oklahoma City's good. When's LeBron going to be on next? That's who I want to see. And that's why the Lakers are on all the time. They ain't putting Cleveland on. So what if their record's any good? Nobody knows them. Cleveland. Who cares?
Yeah.
OKC. Who cares? But the numbers, and I get it. If the NBA's getting $76 billion, the NFL's got to be going, whoa. We got to get 100. We got to get more than 111. I mean, you kidding me? We've shortchanged ourselves. Kind of makes you wonder what the next NFL deal will be if the NBA got $76 million and the NFL's current deal is just $111 billion.
This just this just smacks this line of thinking from John. I don't care what teams are good. Yeah. I want to see the same old ones I see all the time. I could just imagine him back in the day. Kaio. Let's see. Delta, 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 Kappa, Alpha, Theta, KDs. Hey, listen, there's some really nice girls who are really intelligent. But really?
Yeah.
AO Pi?
Yeah.
I'm not, it doesn't matter how good they are. It's their reputation. I don't know. Kappa Alpha Theta? Really?
Some of those sororities would call us up and say, hey, can we have a swap with y'all? We'll get back to you. We'll get back to you on that.
Let me ask the fellas. Yeah, it's the same line of thinking. I don't care whether they're nice girls or, whether they're, whether they're smart or anything like that. They're still whatever, and I don't want to offend any sorority girls or whatever. It's still the same thing now. I don't care that the Lakers are bad. I want to see LeBron. You want to see him lose? I mean, the winning and losing doesn't really matter. I don't care who wins or loses.
And so I just want to see him. I don't watch a ton of NBA. I watch it from time to time. And I mentioned a week or so ago, I watched some NBA. I just happened to turn it on at the right time. They're announcing the starting lineups. LeBron's in the lineup. And I watched it mainly because I wanted to see how long it took for the ref to blow the whistle, which was about 8 minutes into the game before the first foul was called, which I didn't have a problem with because I didn't really see anything that was worthy of a foul. I'm not saying I agree with it, and I'm happy that Cleveland's having a great year in Oklahoma City. That's great. But I realize that the execs in the boardrooms with the suits on are going, Cleveland's not driving the needle. Cleveland's not making us any money. Well, sir, they got the best record in the league. Don't matter. Put LeBron on. That's who people want to see. Whether it's fair, whether it's right.
I hate it.
That's
hate
business.
It. I was trying to get to break without John saying that. Oh, that's just business. That's the real world. I want to projectile vomit when he says stuff like that.
Same thing with Notre Dame. They're going to put them on whether they're 10-0 or 2-8. They're still going to put them on because America wants to watch them. Same thing with Notre Dame. I mean, with Dallas in the NFL. It does. Life's not fair.
This country was built upon the struggle for excellence, the desire for accomplishment, the thirst for progress. Not, let's just do the same thing over and over and over again. Railroads, we don't need to build railroads. I like a horse. Give me a horse and cart and I'm fine. Who needs railroads? People don't want to go on railroads. They want horse and cart, Do
you ever see railroad races or do you still see horse races? I mean,
airplanes. Airplanes, you mean fly off the ground? Give me a train, man, where I know the ground is right on it. American progress. This is anti-progress. This is like, I don't care who's good. I don't care who's working hard to get better. I just want the same old thing. Over and over.
Well,
and over
we had Boise
again.
State and Arizona State in the first round. Got a first round bye. The ratings were terrible compared to some of the teams that are well known and people across the country are familiar with. Much better.
That Arizona State Texas game was a pretty good game.
That's
really
great.
Good.
Arizona State and Boise had their little moment in the sun, but they're done.
That's twice in this segment where Johnny says, "Hey, Cleveland. You got your little best record in the NBA." I hate it when he says, "That's great.
Yeah.
I'm happy for you." He ain't happy for you. He doesn't give two toots about you. Oh, hey, Arizona State, that's great. I'm happy for you. I could.
The last time Arizona State was relevant when Jake the Snake Plummer was their quarterback 20 years ago.
They're better this year. They have a better player in Cam Scadaboo. They played in the college football playoff, and John's like, I know it was a great game. I know they had a bunch of great players, but the suits in the boardroom doesn't like them. Who cares about the suits in the boardroom? Forget them. John thinks that's the real world. That's as far from reality as I can imagine.
Because if my ESPN stock starts plummeting because they're putting Arizona State games on instead of Notre Dame, I'm going to the board meeting saying, what are y'all doing? I'm here to make some money. Don't give me Arizona State.
If you've still got ESPN stock, I can't help you. Well, let's take a break. Back in a moment. Our producer, Chris the Bammer, evidently, is telling us we're late on the break. It's coming up.
Sorry.
In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Well, the Crimson Tide and the Auburn Tigers are really hot in college basketball, and so are the deals at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville. Alabama and Northwest Florida's largest volume Ram truck dealer is Stivers in Prattville. And at Stivers, they have the largest selection of Ram trucks priced at thousands less than other dealers. How about a 2025 Ram Bighorn 4x4 crew cab with savings of up to $15,000 off sticker price? Also at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, they have fantastic savings on the entire Jeep lineup, like the Wranglers and Jeep Grand Cherokees. Head over to Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram today on Cobbs Ford Road in Prattville, where Price sells cars and trucks.
Jim Massey's Cleaners and Laundry is an Alabama-based, family-owned and operated business that specializes in dry cleaning and laundry, serving the river region since 1941. There are 12 convenient locations across the river region. Find one close to you or call 481-1911 for free pickup and delivery. For 83 years, Central Alabama has trusted Jim Massey's Cleaners and Laundry. You should too.
All right, about 5 minutes to the top of the hour. Can we get through the Victoryland topic wheel before the show's conclusion? I believe we can. I know there's some interesting other kind of topics today on the wheel. Just kind of a recap. I thought we'd go wheel with that today. They're the 4 topics. Let's go ahead and spin it. Blue, red, yellow, and green. Where does it stop? It is going to be on red.
82.
The number 82.
82.
I can't tell you the number of times that I have driven on Highway 82 in my 60 plus years. Couldn't even come up with a number. Well into the hundreds, I would say.
Oh my! Pushing 4 figures, I would say.
No, I don't know about that, but I'd say in the hundreds.
Feels like 4 figures.
They have made some additions. They've added some. They've stretched the 4-lane out even further. But I was drawn to 82 this weekend, and I just, there again, driven it many a time, but it's horrible. It sucks. And, I don't know what they can do to ever improve it. I've always thought they could just maybe from where the 4-lane stops in Centerville, just direct it towards 65 and hit like the Clanton exit or something like that, because the 2-lane part of 82 is atrocious. Maplesville, Billingsley. I mean, windy, up and down, curvy roads on a 2-lane highway. It's brutal. It sucks. I hate it. And it really, I'd had enough coming back on Sunday. I said, this is worse. This is embarrassing.
You're still going to do it when it comes down to it. Still going to do it. You're going to be heading northwest, passing by the Jupiter Inn north of Prattville, and you're going to say, okay, here we go. Well, it's already started by the time you get to the Jupiter Inn.
Yeah, it is.
Griping and griping. You know what? You are always really, really pushing for the wise use of your tax dollar, right?
Correct. Yes.
There are 100,000 people that go to, say, Alabama football games, and a small fraction of them take Highway 82. Some of them come on, 20 or 59? Some of them come from north, some of them come from the west and everything. But John wants them to either blow up 82 or make it 4-lane the whole way because of the people in Montgomery and the people in Prattville coming up to Tuscaloosa.
And Dothan, a lot of Dothan, the Dothan people, the Wiregrass people. The problem with going up the interstate is you get caught in all that Birmingham traffic. And that's even more of a problem, trying to deal with that, particularly on game day. But I know, traffic is increased on 82. I've just noticed that in non-game type days and whatnot. It's just, you know, I don't know why they've never come up with a plan. I mean, to me, it would be pretty easy to connect it to 65 and just go up to 65 till about Clanton and then go over and hit a 4-lane.
Like have a spur like you have 22 on the way to like Tupelo and Memphis.
Yeah, not so much an interstate, so to speak, but just a 4-lane highway. You know, I guess, you know, interstates, you can't, you know, make a U-turn on it. You got to go off the ramp to do that. On 4-lane highways, you can, but you know, it's just curvy up and down, hilly, logging trucks. I mean, you can't pass. I mean, it's just
coming back middle of the night. Those 8 o'clock start times like tonight in Coleman Coliseum. You got the pulpwood trucks. Look, I don't love it. I don't love it. I've made that trip a bunch myself down through the years. But you just got to suck it up. They don't need to spend everybody's hard-earned taxes for John to be able to have an easy trip.
Let me ask you this then. I would have much rather them spent that money doing that on a road that is used instead of this flyway, byway, spur to nowhere to Pike Road.
Yeah, that one's beautiful. That one's majestic up there. And you know where it gets you? It gets you to that CVS over there by at Vaughn Road, or whatever.
Why did they spend millions and millions of dollars on all those loops and bypasses and flyways and about a 2-mile spur to Highway 110?
That is true. That is true.
What a waste of money. All right. Well, we'll save the rest of them for later in the week because we got some other good ones to get on as well. But I had to get that off my chest. 82. It hit me. It just really did. I just grumbled and moaned and complained about it the whole way home. Little lady didn't want to hear any more of it. She was tired of it. All right, tomorrow, Barry, CJ Duncan, Yellowhammer News will join us.
Yes, we're looking forward to that. A lot of other topics as well. We'll recap Alabama basketball. We'll recap the Phantoms Daily Dog, and we'll preview the matchup between Auburn and Ole Miss that comes up tomorrow night. He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.